Tansei, Nitsikasan, 𝘊𝘷𝘪𝘦𝘸. Hello, I am Emily. I'm the arts editor and community engagement coordinator at the Capilano Review.
And hello everyone, my name is Andrea Actis and I'm the editorial director of the Capilano Review.
If you're tuning in today on August 5th, thank you so much for joining us for the official launch date of our summer issue 3.41. One of the intersections in the issue is the space of the garden as a place of touch, intimacy, and collectivity. So I'm very pleased that we're here today filming in the Strathcona Community Gardens in East Vancouver. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge that the territories in which we are gathered today and that the Capilano Review carries out its work, including the filming of these short films. This is the territories, the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Emily. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize all of the contributors to our issue and name them individually. They are Garden Don't Care, which you'll learn about a little more in a second through their film, Megan Hepburn, Tom Sue, Andrea Actis, Conyer Clayton, Mercedes Eng, SF Ho, Erica Holt, Andrea Javor, aka Mystic Sandwich, Julia Lamar and Emily Dundas Oak, Kaylin Pierce, Sean King, Liam Siemens, Bardia Sinai, Magad Zaher, Gail Scott and Meredith Quartermain, Jake Byrne, Stephen Collis, Jamie McCarty, and Natalie Podaima. For our longtime subscribers, you may have noticed a little bit of a new look with our most recent issue. This is part of our last 2-year migration, beginning with the migration of our website from the .ca to .com, and now in this latest iteration, an update of our print edition to match our digital design. So I'd like to also thank our designer, who is Anahita Jamali-Rad, as well as our managing editor, Jacqueline Ross, for their amazing work in bringing this print issue in line with our digital design.
We are pleased to be launching 3 new short films in celebration of this summer issue. As the world abruptly closed down around us due to COVID-19, and in dreaming up a celebration for this issue, we craved the sense of gathering, collaboration, and the sensorial aspects of letting the world rush in that issue 3.41 invites. So instead of a traditional launch with readings and socializing, we hope to bring the world in, while also transporting ourselves into new contexts. We welcomed cinematographer Israel Seoane to create a series of short films that would complement the contributions of Garden Don't Care, Andrea Actis, and SF Ho. Issue 3.41 takes us into the garden to consider the life and plenitude of senses and smells, a dedication to being in the world, and an accepting of its confusion and abundance.
The concepts for the film began here at the Strathcona Gardens, and while the filming process took us both to Vivo and Unit 17 Gallery, we moved forward with a continued reflection on where it is that we work and create. In acknowledging where we are, we find it necessary not only to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, but also acknowledge the historic Black neighborhood that was uprooted with the construction of the Georgia viaducts not so far from here, and the ongoing displacements occurring within Chinatown and the downtown east side, as witnessed by the tent camp just across the way.
Our public programming is always free to audiences, and instead of having our usual donation jar by the bar, we ask you kindly consider donating to the Hogan's Alley Society, which supports the work of Black-led community planning and organizing initiatives. There is also the Vancouver Black Therapy and Advocacy Fund, which provides mental health services. And we would also like to raise awareness and funds for Makita's community outreach program for feeding folks in the downtown east side and in Strathcona. If donating is a possibility for you, we hope you will consider donating to these initiatives. We are pleased to offer a free digital copy of the summer issue for all donations made.
And how that works is emailing a donation receipt to contact@thecapilanoReview.com. Okay, so I'd like to introduce our cinematographer, Israel Seoane, and I'd also like to thank Emily. Emily joined us in May, just as the reality of COVID and programming during the time of COVID kind of was becoming a reality. So she really hit the ground running with this new role. And I'd just like to thank you so much for the energy that you've brought to this collaborative initiative and bringing our readers something in lieu of the public programming that we normally offer.
It's been my pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been our sincere pleasure to work closely with Israel Seoane to bring these 3 short films to TCR audiences. Israel has a passion for collaborating with creative minds to translate their thoughts into moving images creating beautiful audiovisual content and inspiring audiences. As a cinematographer, Seoane co-directed with 𝘊𝘍𝘍𝘀 the short film 𝘊𝘊𝘱𝘍𝘍𝘀 and was the associate producer and director of photography for the feature film 𝘊𝘊𝘱𝘍𝘍𝘀. He has also worked with documentary directors such as Peter Chim, Kino Pinheiro, Sylvia Ray, and Candice Valentin. He recently completed his third fiction feature, also directed by 𝘊𝘍𝘍𝘀, Jesus Shows You the Highway. So I'm going to say goodbye now and depart and invite our cinematographer, Israel, to the garden stage. Bye, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Emily.
Dante, Israel, once
Hi.
again, thank you so much for all of your collaborations and thoughtfulness for this project. It's been such a joy for us to work with you. Thought we'd take this moment just to hear a bit more about what this process was like for you.
Yeah.
So maybe you'd like to speak a bit about how it was working with written pieces found in the issue to then build a visual audio aspect to that.
Well, it's been quite a challenge, a very interesting challenge. I believe that the Capilano Review also is very open to experimentation and experimenting and bringing up new concepts when it comes to poetry. So this was also very welcoming for me to try to find another different way to portray an artist reading their work. So then I wanted to bring a twist to that audiovisual approach.
You bet. And in this project, we worked with three kind of different groups of contributors, which are all really have wildly unique practices. What sort of challenges or what was that experiment like, going with not only just one poem, but working with three that span such different forms?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been really fun, very exciting to receive and to get to know the artist a bit more. And then to also interact with them and trying to listen and understand what did they want to tell or to express, and for me also to try to convey those words and those ideas into something that could match from my perspective also, which is another layer of experimentation in a way.
Yeah, certainly. It felt like this project really at the core was totally collaborative, where we had made this invitation, but it took a whole new life of its own because of your time spent letting the work kind of resonate, and then to build that imaginary space into a more something that we as audiences could witness. I had heaps of fun exploring parts of the city I'd never been to before, and as I know that you're new to Vancouver, what was it like going to different areas? And
well, for me, that has been the best part, I would say, and I would like to thank the Capilano Review for giving me this opportunity, especially you and Metea. Because as a newcomer, I always enjoy discovering the city, and I always go with my camera, and then for me this would be it has been the perfect match in order for me to discover interesting places like Strathcona Garden or others, and also to meet different creative minds and having the opportunity to chat, to discuss, to bounce ideas, and to have fun.
Yeah, certainly. And for myself, it's been a total joy to meet you through this project and to work so closely with you. And I'm grateful for all of your work and care, and for inviting us to see these works in a new way, and to also see this city in a new way. I think through your lens and through our conversations, I've learned so much. So thank you, and thanks for everybody for joining us today. The videos will be made available in our archive beyond this date, so you can revisit them anytime. And if you'd like to get more Capilano Review in your life, we do have a wonderful subscription package right now where you get 3 issues of art and writing to your door every year. But you also get this amazing tote bag designed by John. So once again, thank you so much to Israel for all of your work, to the whole team at the Capilano Review, and for everybody for being a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody eat enough?
That was delicious.
For audiences
Yeah.
too, like, you know, like it's there. I also just think like, like we're forgetting about so many things like lived through previous pandemics. So like that was one of the things that like the early like the extra like fearful days of like early like late March when I think I was experiencing that was the height of like the COVID anxiety for me. And then just like knowing my grandma, it was like, oh yeah, my sister was born. I couldn't meet her for like 6 weeks. We were all in quarantine because we all had the measles.
Right.
Like, you know, like things like
not
that.
our parents' generation.
Yeah,
Like that.
like these folks have like been through like waves of very intense isolation and stuff. And, yeah, finding some sort of like anchor in that. Well, they're still doing freaking awesome. So that gives me
Thank you for the yeast.
yeah, exactly.
I feel like something that's really interesting about this moment is that we can't find ourselves. It feels like we're all just falling and falling and falling
Yeah.
and falling. And I think there's something about not having any really tangible physical threat and then being stuck at home. And that also kind of just weirdly denying your body despite the fact that it's the only thing you're with.
Only thing you're protecting is like
Give me
the
that
reason
hand.
why you're doing isolation is to
Yeah.
protect that same thing.
But it's really abstract. I feel like there's something about humans that like I just don't know why it seems extremely difficult and if not totally impossible to make meaning in this moment. And just finding everybody having an impossible time with it. Like we understand that we all need it so much, like we're literally dying from a lack of it or like spiritually dying from a lack of it, but it's not happening. There's something that
If you want it, but anyways, I mean,
but
just
it would be interesting
as a
to try to
suggestion.
understand better how exactly that got removed. Like, is the weight literally like some piece of capitalism that we all require? Like, we require it like in a
What's this
really kind of
disrespect?
animal. You would like fuck.
I'm like, yeah,
Or like that character in like Greek romance or something.
Totally.
On Crete? I don't know.
oh my god.
My like Greek
The
mythology
longest living
knowledge is
people,
like
let's
zero.
go.
You look
That's how Emma and Julia come to
Yeah.
I do
But
kind of
like one thing that like COVID stays is that like I feel like people are being more honest about like being down in a lot of ways. And that like I think it's because there's a collective like elephant in the room
my
that
plate
people
is
are
there too.
willing to point to. They're like, oh, that makes sense that you're like
you want it?
it's that because I think like
No.
there's been so many things
Play with the
that have, like,
potentiality of the
like push people into the
Medium.
ground that we weren't voicing in the same way before.
Andrea
Like if we're able
Just
to
likes
the-
that art theory.
language to be like,
I went to
this thing is not okay, this thing's fucked up.
Sorry, was that bad I did that?
Yeah, the other things like
That was an original artwork.
Yeah, it's even more original now. Never to be replaced. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
like much smaller social interaction than before. Like I feel like I've entered into much more honest interaction.
Okay, I'll save it. Oops.
There's
Wow.
not an
In the
expectation
wintertime,
of
actually a little sprout, you can see it died, but it
to
came out.
pretty
Yeah.
erasure
Pitch black
in the same
thing,
way that I
little
think
things
people
so
often
Wow.
need more.
Pin. Stack.
Yeah,
God.
I think people are making more space in that way.
That's true. Like when you make small, or even like arriving today, like the question, like the small talk question when you're meeting people, it's like, how are you?
Yeah.
Like actually, like how? And it's not like a shallow assuming thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, what do you do? Or what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? like future related questions.
So like,
career.
imagine asking somebody what they're doing tomorrow. That would be like almost offensive.
Flower? Yes.
That's none of your business.
Sorry.
Quit not being present.
Yeah, that's twice in there.
Very tired.
There's a lot of
But I guess
sort
it's
of
just, there is something kind
ellipses.
of depressing
4
about it,
times.
like,
I'm not sure about that.
Cool.
like this practice I follow pretty closely. I'm not like the biggest fan at all. I know like a lot of criticism of his writing and stuff, but that he would like want to facilitate like a conversation about the existential building thing and then like arrive there. And he like
That
doesn't
one.
even come up with anything because he also has something
Maybe
to say.
just like-
Like there's something very
Go
honest
away.
about that too.
Now it
and
goes away.
respect
Yeah,
also
now
and
something
discouraging.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something wet.
It's so honest that it also fails.
Well, and
one.
like, was he like so brutally honest,
Not the
where he was like,
docked
I
one.
didn't prepare anything because it was fucking me over, and
this
like,
It was like kind of between the lines.
yeah,
It was basically
yeah.
That was an original.
Oh my god, Julia?
concentrate. All of his words started like failing.
Sounds nice.
Thanks, I made that for you.
It's the best one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, what's happening here?
I just think that we've lost
The
like
garden.
we got so bad at some identity that all of our social life could happen in an online situation.
And like varying degrees of success and failure.
The
T-Rex.
T-Rex represents Roro.
Who could not be here today, but absolutely loves T-Rex.
Go away.
Do I have to?
Just give in.
There were
Give
so
in
many
to the.
people in the Zoom chat, so I
Give in
figured
to the
I should
space.
probably reattend.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like 50% was just like the curators, like she had like Karina and stuff. I saw Shannon the other day. She we talked about actually picturing at the beach. So with Cheyenne or Karina? I actually really like add some sparkles. Yeah. Soon.
You wanna open up your half.
I tried to take a coffee class original method class as well. That's hard not in person though. Where's our meeting training? It was organized under the Native Education Center. Yeah.
Bucket?
I think it's still happening.
These are Rowan's treasures, I think. He couldn't be with us
On
tonight.
site.
But I think like maybe some representation.
That must be the. Yeah, it is. Oh, were we in the same class together? Yeah.
I don't know if these are all ones that have come out of the ground here.
And I stopped going.
Yeah.
How was it going for you?
I haven't been here either.
But they definitely live here.
Yeah, do it. But I was going in person yesterday. I think my Korean is not getting much better, but I just love the like colors and shit. Yeah. One of them is the same community as my grandma, and it has the same kind of like kind of like projecting on her.
Totally. Where did your grandma live again?
She lives right here. She comes out of like.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I was enjoying it. Like, I know that for them. Yeah, I know that I think really impacts their funding, so I want to be present. So like, I should just start turning it on.
I think a lot of people are still, because my brother, in fact, he might have been in your original class with you. So, yeah, it seemed like there's still lots of people going from what he said. Is it a free course or do you pay?
Yeah.
Cool.
What would you like for the garden for the future?
Oh, really?
If you could, I mean, how do you see this place in the future, in a distant?
We would like
The next 5 years.
for the city to buy this space for us.
The future is like what needs to be done. It's like we should have like things climbing up the walls and like another planter and like a road that's accessible. But like also we know the reality of this place maybe not existing in 5 years. Yeah, I don't know. I mean we have the leaks, but that's the so.
Will you renew the lease?
Pardon?
Will you renew the lease?
I think so.
This one was
As long as there's money. Oh, there's a T-Rex there. No.
I see one.
There's two now. 2 sets.
It's like behind the scenes of how they make I Spy look.
Or Art Attack.
Yeah, it's like yes, verging. Oh, Art Attack. He was such a snack.
Snack attack.
Wasn't that much of a snack actually.
Maybe it was like, what do you think? I just remember the art.
Yeah, that's It's true.
From the
Like
sky.
him, this is. I loved him, but I don't tell you.
Art attack guy.
We just know it was the art attack. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, what a photo.
I think that might be a different generation.
Wow.
Yeah, he looks
He's like, this is season
Irish.
2.
He's like smoldering in this
Yeah,
one.
he is. It's got a bit darker.
He has kind of like a Michael J. Fox vibe.
Yeah.
So serious.
Maybe it's the
Serious.
era.
Serious art.
Like kind of like crew sweater with this like neat, like
Yeah, cleaning is like
so like
more than half of what we do.
75%.
Yeah, it's true.
75% of the collective.
Yeah.
Is making a mess and then cleaning stuff.
Cleaning the dishes.
And cleaning is
Garden do
life.
clean. Thank you.
With or without children.
And then we can make a vase of flowers on the way. Keep it real.
Okay, so it's
The,
all.
the, the fruit
It's done.
stays.
Yeah, I think it can stay. It's just maybe reconfiguration
You can make a mess while you.
of like what.
Probably need compost. Don't really need this. Or do we?
Like replate it. If it's staying, replate it.
Yeah, true. This can go in there.
You can give those to the birds.
It's really like the wheelie.
I think it is Weekly.
T-Rex down here. This is Valerian.
Oh, that one. They were in the boat.
Where did this T-Rex come from?
They were in the boat.
No one wants to be on camera, and yet when you say, we're just cleaning up, it's done, then everybody is like on camera.
Yeah.
It's like the outtake where like suddenly everyone is like fine and
Let's
casual
go, let's go,
again.
let's go. Let's go.
True.
It's like, we're not filming. We're not filming.
I'm not praying, I'm just stretching. We should save those and then just be able to smoke them. Because then they're like THC-less weed and then it's nice to fill in.
THC-less weed. Some of the art is nicer in person, and some of it's nicer as documentation.
That is very astute.
It's true of art in general, maybe.
Yeah, but that's so real.
It's funny seeing the original, though. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there it is. There it is.
Yeah, totally.
Or like the cover or something of the magazine is like, oh, like here.
Yeah.
Here it is on the
damp
ground.
box.
It's great though, I love that.
You're like, ew,
Oh, wow.
wow. Oh, I
This
did
is how it
not
happens.
understand what this was. Okay.
That's why you're so precious. What can I return this to? It's hard not to just want to rearrange everything again and
I
make it
think-
pretty again.
Yeah, I think it's
Over and over.
maybe just like less stuff more. We should have a bowl of. I guess we can just do this. Maybe all the flowers, yeah.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Can we save the bread?
I think it's gonna got about.
It did, right? Oh no. What's going on? Hold on. Water right now, please. What? Please, water. I don't have water. Here.
Oh my god, you know that thing?
What happened?
When the sugar coats your throat and you're eating something really sugary and it just closes it?
No? That you can breathe?
I think it might be something that I personally have then. But
I don't think I've experienced that.
I pray that you never do.
I feel like this is a great exquisite corpse of nature.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Oh, good call.
And you know you get everybody you want in there, and you can keep it and spread it. Yet I feel that somehow this might be just having no material parts of them, like a really smart person making the argument for her. So then that's blinded by his belief that it is soul to these people, so very dispersed. But what sense slews why soul might simply be what I remember of someone and love of them? I remind her why my love, no, I don't have investments, I'm looking to protect them. Well, truly, I think it is something that you cannot really measure in this present. The soul is something that is going to be eased upon death, that goes back to how it goes back really goes into this whatever, this plasticine, this kind of Play-Doh kids use. So it's going to be fun again to be some other person's, like is going to be transmitted, and you should get a really big chunk of oh my in their sadness or even health or what have you. See, in the future, it's not you, it's not me. You might actually resemble your daddy, Jeffrey, just because by chance you took a piece of that Play-Doh. But you know, a well-defined shape, you know, a random assimilation. You gotta be so good that was truly the case. Now, I know you put people in the drawer, you know, gathering all kinds of ashes from people and giving them a line in a drawer in your apartment. Though I don't even think this is a question of metaphysics or like what's actually real. I think that there might be something if we look at just this behavioral pattern of gathering and displaying ash, right? That there might be telling in a way. Like, I'm not imagining that, in fact, we were throwing souls in this purgatory and they mean Jeffrey, Mona, Marty. There are not some screaming like, you're keeping me from the big water slide in the sky. It is not that bad. The fact that you know there is this holding on is just exactly what this is. That this is ancestor. But the idea that you're holding them basically on the phone, that you don't release them from the thing, is disgusting to me. Even if you release some finger of them in Burnaby Mountain or whatever, you're really a part of the hoarding. You're like still holding on to part of ash and so on to make it garbage in your apartment. So that isn't nice, and that's hello, why I object. Well, thank you at least for saying to me, because you to me have this interesting hybrid belief, like very hard science and some scared shitless form of Catholicism that makes you an Eastern European man. You study the brain but don't understand what this brain is doing to how you argue with me. Then it's like, that is so not how long I will always keep a little bit of the view that I was going to cremate. You will die. What will happen to ashes afterwards? I don't even care. I will go into the stupid cupboard with them in my apartment. I don't even care what happens there or what happens exactly to match those ashes. No, not yours, but them and theirs. I just don't understand why this is the question of the evening, because we have like 4 actual people here. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever parts. I say that the 4 of us is this could be our grief currently talking. We're looking for like object substitutes, you know, but even then I still think me and my mind are better at the seriousness. Now freaking learn what they are. Excuse me? Because me and my mom are better at listening to souls and not forgetting what exactly some people were? Now that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just that you and I both right now, we're like looking at palm prints of Mona Lisa from when she dies. She's like, I am this trace, this real Wheaton terrier, and we're both exactly enchanted at this. The object that has about this strange index equality is there in dusty chunk in the kitchen. It's an impression of this moment. It reminds us of this moment that was absolutely true, that will probably in time, if mourning doesn't work, become less true. You know, this moment of just losing the beloved, poof. And right now, that isn't simply a fucked up version of, hey, I am assessing blame to you. These ashes are soul for them, Andrea. So what would you be if you died in 3 years gone? What is going to happen to those issues you're so preciously hiding in the bottom of your drawer and whatnot? How can you take responsibility for all those ashes, all those souls, when you actually lose control? How will cash be a thing for you when you fail? I just feel like boys don't really know what you see here. Though you both have something to say to each other, it seems to me, and I feel like I'm maybe a third party to this telling. I don't have any ashes. But for come forward at least and say, as Croatian witch, will you tell us exactly what is bad about ashes? Just say it. Okay, it's nothing about ashes, it's just so wrong to keep parts. Andrea doesn't understand this tiny little bit of truth. No, I actually just have a different definition of wholeness. As ash, like for any sand, it is soul. What's vital is saying it has some resonance, some Play-Doh vibration, and maybe you are guilty of a limited seriousness with it. Then it's like, well, what if you just fear holding on this purple memory without history? Like, how does an ash get caught become sign? I just questioned to use a piece of the ash. That's correct. But once you're fully immersed in the materials, you hear things like, oh, I'm inhaling atoms that were once a part of Shakespeare's body and everything is so radically intermingled. You always do that CO2 to actually form a Shakespeare we inhale. So in that sense, like, the ashes are. It doesn't matter whether we have them, they're already gone and back and here again, and even if we threw them away, shit them out, they'd be right into us anyway. So all we're talking about is the ritual. Do I want to preserve this substance that has a name? Because ash is just ash, right? And calling it like, oh, Jeffrey, this is insane, right? No, it's both insane and not insane. It can be a beautiful phenomenon when you do that. I mean, that's why it's holy, because it's like, this is clearly not my dad, is just the little opal weed vessel. This is why I think that we should not tell each other what to do with it, because it is just so soul-sucking to argue with me like this. I had my own take on this. Sure, you have your own take on this, but basically, you know, the souls of these people rest on your shoulder. Except no, I don't buy that. What would I even take from your shoulder? Well, what Andrea said about wholeness, I think, is an important mention. It's so if you want to have the ritual of how to cook the grief quickly, instead of doing things piecemeal, finding within yourself some time of like whole ghost gesture might be important. It gets defined as, oh, we need to embalm the body or burn the body or put the body completely in. So certainty. But that's all we can do or something, right? There was this fellow in England, you know, who was like apparently very easy become a funeral director there. And he decided that he was going to start having MDMA funerals. So everyone in attendance would take MDMA and you would say farewell to your beloved deceased with him in that way. But it wasn't just like, oh, MDMA, yeah, but why is it always some kind of extraterrestrial drug that you have to ingest? You know, just have fun time at the funeral, drink, eat. Why extraterrestrial drug? He just thought it permitted some kind of openness that allows for a deeper acknowledgement. And what interests me is in the MDMA, it was the following bit that's the following prescription, which assumed dogmatic status. And it was, you have to see the body, you have to see it, maybe touch it. And I don't know how I stand with regard to that. Well, look, I was saying that to close, I agree closure is important. Closure is really, really important. And I think that you guys are both completely agreed on that closure, no we don't, is important. I emphasize this. I just don't want to see my relatives' ashes in a drawer. I want peace. I don't want peace. I'm honoring them. I mean, I don't think that there would be an objection on their part. I think they're quite okay with these, the pragmatics of intuition or whatever. But the question is also like, what is the most effective means of finding closure? How about opening? She's keeping the ashes well. But you have to ask yourself, and Andrea has to ask herself, what she is keeping from us. I mean, that's why I think what you're saying is fascinating, because it's like, you know, how the hell do we process these things that just truly are impossible and just truly are? I don't know if I've dealt adequately with the laws of entities for my life, and that's what you have to think. You must grow up and face. But it did that there's an adequate verb to respect and acknowledge and continue to live with. You have to ask, you know, does she ever dream of them or never feel guilty? I can't answer that on her behalf as she talks about them and thinks about them and communes with them and loves them. Oh, really? And I would think that is supreme, because it's like, I mean, I guess I'm maybe just a selfish materialist. Not that I deny that there's anything like an eternity of the soul or of its energies and needs that persist in the mountaintop, but I guess I'm certainly aware that the living preserved the dead via possibly their drawer in their apartment. And when I see that love, my first concern is like, it's actually not for the well-being of the cash. It's for me and for us and for doing and listening better. Like, how is that living person coping with, but not closing the loss? I mean, also, yeah, that's fine. Just like, as you say, in eternal combustion. Time to go and take care of her, to take your magnesium. Sorry, totally. Well, fine. Good night.
It is a large gray room. The walls and the floor of the room are gray concrete, with small windows running along the top of one of the walls. A diffuse gray light seeps in from these windows and floats above the space, illuminating shiny sections of a ventilation shaft and a network of PVC pipes. In the dim space below, the memory of objects that may or may not have existed there, for instance, a pair of silver platform shoes, the black and white pebbles from a Go board, a pair of Bakelite-handled scissors, a piece of purple paper torn into tiny bits, a leather belt, a bowl of dehydrated orange skins. The party is over. Patches of space still emit pungent traces of sweet and sour, despite half-hearted attempts to mop the smell away. George is asleep on the concrete floor. Someone has covered him with a heavy rug, and there's purple lipstick on his mouth and teeth. George wakes up to the memory of being surrounded by others. It is very quiet both inside and outside of the room. He lies there for a long time, not entirely sure of what to do, then tries to call a friend. There is a voice heard through his phone. The friend sounds far away. George summons the face of his friend, their particular gait and posture, the thickness and weight of their body, their apartment, kitchen, bed, the objects held within these spaces. He concentrates really, really hard to find a picture that he can hold on to. There once was a girl, her name was Krista. Krista lived not in an apartment, but in a van that she converted into a bedroom where she enjoyed reading hunting magazines and books about plants. George used to have long conversations with Krista about basketball inside that van, and also George once met Krista's mother, who taught him how to open a walnut with your bare hands. Krista, if that is indeed your real name, Krista, answer your phone. Krista's hair was the color of straw, and it went down to her chin. The color of straw, the shape of her chin. George wakes up and finds that he's in a room. He vaguely tests the state that he is in. George exits the warehouse and the alien is there. Smoke hangs between the border of their two universes. The atmosphere glows from a diffused and directionless hazy brightness. Hazy silhouettes circulate behind the smoke. Some of the silhouettes look structural, some of the structures look like they are moving. The movement generates little sparks of phosphorescence in the haze, and black clouds swirl around their bodies. "Oh wow," says George, "you're really beautiful." The alien says that's not the point. It takes George's body into itself and smuggles George across the border. They move together into the alien's reality, and the shadows reveal themselves to be alive. The alien guides them along a busy thoroughfare lit by tiny sparks and into one of the shifting structures. The structure is also alive. Their vast consciousness is utilized by the various entities gathered inside to communicate with one another. There are creatures from above and below, both rooted and mobile, budding and ancient. Some are made from material sensible to this universe. Some are configured by another logic. They are discussing their escape. George peers out from his position inside the alien's body. The alien tells George not to say a fucking thing, or the gig is up. "Also stop writing about me, George. I will not be the matter of your fucking book. Plus, the more you blabber on, the greater the risk of accidentally revealing what is not to be said." "So, you go into my head and do whatever you want, and I can't even talk about you." The alien says that our cinematically induced mind meld was essential and beyond anyone's control. "I had to mindfuck you, George, and you have to admit you were into it, which is why it worked. The border of your unconscious mind wanted to be violated, so you just didn't know it yet. An active language is different. Writing operates on the conscious level, while the other world operates in secret. There is no choice in that other world except to choose to listen. Your will belongs to the realm of language. You can will your words into silence, and right now it is necessary to do so." This is all bullshit. What George means to say is that this is not how language works. All acts, including language, are insidious expressions of the unconscious. There is no such thing as intelligence. We are always asleep. The alien tells George that if he's unhappy, he can leave, but actually George can't leave. He doesn't know how. the alien continues to refuse certain forms of linguistic representation. Meanwhile, within the living structure, all manner of beings are forming alliances, discourses, and disputes. Most noticeable are the ancient behemoths that resemble giant slow-moving rats who scavenge off the edges of history. In accordance with their culture, they carve intricate patterns into their bark-like skin to mark and predict time. Another group of hive-minded creatures the size of tomato seeds share a furcating memory that transfers into neighboring bodies when one body dies off. Although the lifespan of one creature is only a few days long, together they carry memories over many thousands of years. Several attendees have ugly-looking collars permanently fused into their systems, vestiges of enslaved labor in the atmospheric mines. This insidious technology taps into the wearer's respiratory system, transforming their body into a filter that manufactures clean air for the rich. Now, having escaped the mines, many wear their collars with abject pride, painting and adorning the spiky bands so that they resemble treacherous gleaming jewels. The entity in which they are housed groans slightly as their massive hulk moves through the smoke from unknown fires. The alien teaches George how to breathe in time with the entity and thus tap into the conversation facilitated by the creature's metabolism. With each breath, more sensations, thoughts, and feelings travel towards George and clarify themselves within him. Peering into the cavernous body of their host, a network of exchanges becomes apparent to George. Numerous unique and attenuated dialogues develop simultaneously, with each speaker holistically aware that they are taking part in a singular, ongoing conversation. They listen as a whole. The camaraderie of this exceptional gathering is marred by an overriding sense of paranoia. Sometimes the tension in the network feels like a couple of hostile gangs mustering energy for a barroom fight. Sometimes like a camera leaning in to peer with an intruding eye over a turned shoulder. An uneasy truce exists for the sake of the greater cause, but inevitably the pressure intensifies. The gathered entities unwittingly begin to respire at a faster pace. Their air sacs are filled with the scent of burning soil. The air shifts as their breaths synchronize while quickening at an ever-increasing rate. The living structure begins to spin, slowly at first, then picking up speed until the centrifugal force pushes all the gathered bodies to the edge of the space that is also the body of the giant organism. Wrapped inside his alien lover, George's twirling mind borders upon a feeling of intoxication. The alien holds George very close to itself. Their twinning thoughts and forms slip in and out of phase with one another until they appear as a vibrating holograph. All the creatures breathe together. Breathing and thinking become the same.